Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be starting a brand new sketchbook. This is the Mossery sketchbook from the collab that they did with Gretel Lusky. And the really cool thing about this sketchbook is you can take it out of its cover, and so you can put refills in here if you want to keep reusing the cover. And this also acts as little pockets. So this is the sketchbook that I plan to use. I'm almost done with this sketchbook. I only have one or two more pages left in it, and I want to use those pages to plan out what I want to do on the first couple of pages of this. I do not intend to do a sketchbook tour for this sketchbook, primarily because I'm not really happy with most of the things in here. I didn't truly get super serious about the art in here, like making it look pretty, until like halfway through it. So a bunch of the front pages are smudged. A lot of the front pages don't have good compositions. I just really don't like them, so I don't think I want to share most of the pictures in here. I will post some of the ones I'm happier on my Instagram, so if you want to check those out, the link will be down in the description. And let's get started. I decided I wanted this half of the first page to be a sort of like junk journal page. I thought it'd be fun to like just put a collection of some items over here. Over the course of my use of the sketchbook, I already have some right now actually that I'd like to put in. This is my ticket to when I went to see Markiplier's Iron Lung. And so I really love that movie, so I'm gonna put that on this page. I also have a receipt from one of my campus's cafeterias. This just has what I tend to get for breakfast on here. This used to have earrings in it. This is from goddesscreationshop.com. And it had rose quartz earrings in it, and it says on the back it's for love and compassion. I got this at a small festival at a local like Halloween costume shop. They put on like a horror festival, and I work at a haunted house, and my haunted house had a station there. So that as I was looking around dressed in my haunt character, I got myself this. I have a couple stickers I want to put in here too that I thought would be fun. I love how psychedelic this is. This is just a cosmic cat and just a really entertaining sticker. And then I also want to put this Horrorplex ticket in it. I got it for free at the same festival. Horrorplex is not the haunt that I work at, but some of the people that work there volunteer at my haunt sometimes, and I love all the people there. They're just all so kind. I think it's my favorite haunt to go to other than my own. So this is what I have to put on this junk journal page for now. It will probably get more things added to it. I'm gonna go ahead and put those on there. Okay, so this is what this page looks like right now. It's a little bare, and I'm not a big fan of the composition right now, but I think it'll get better as I add to it. I don't want to cover up this sticker too much though, because I want it to be like obvious that's Iron Lung, and I still want this to be like obvious that's American Horrorplex, but we'll see what I do to it. So let's move on to my other sketchbook so that I can sketch out some ideas for the other first page of it. For the first page of my new sketchbook, I thought I would design a bit of a more self-indulgent character, and so I made a Pinterest board for them. I intend them to be a bit of like a Viking vampire type character. I love the idea of giving them like flaming huge red hair. I want them to be like a sapphic vampire. I thought it would make sense to connect them with the goddess Hel, and sort of the fact that she's literally half alive, half dead. So these are kind of the vibes that I'm working with. This is also a like kind of mood board that I made, but here are some ideas. I want her to be associated with like the regrowth process of death and like rebirth, and then sort of like a red strings of fate idea of like she is soul bound to this mortal, and this mortal keeps dying over and over and over again in every life she finds her. And I think it would be especially tragic if this character is the reason why her love keeps dying in most lives, to the point where she wants to stay away from them. I added this vest ad group Bunad because I think I just want to design like a more like modern outfit for her too. And Bunads are the official folk costume of Norway, and this region is specifically in the southwest region of Norway. That's actually where a good chunk of my family lives. I don't live there clearly, but this is part where a lot of the self-indulgent nature comes from. Possibly want to add some like rose mauling elements to her outfit. Okay, so let's start with like designing her face. I'm not sure what kind of features I want her to have yet. I think having a very like sharp, narrow, angular face would be good for a vampire. I was toying around with like what to name her, and I think it would be kind of tragic if I named her Solveig. Solveig roughly translates from my research to like strength of the sun or path of the sun. And if she's a vampire, she can never see the sun again. So I like the idea of her having developed a bit of like a special connection to the sun, only for that to be tragically ripped away from her. I'm not quite sure how she will have become a vampire yet. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what kind of like makeup I want to give her, if I give her any makeup, because we actually don't know what kind of makeup the Norse people or like the Vikings would have worn. I know there's kind of like modern tribal aesthetic that people connect with them, but a lot of that's based in like cultural appropriation of Native Americans, especially like the line people put on the lips, like right here, down the chin. So I don't want to do that, but I want to have like some kind of intrigue to her face. At this point, I'm just kind of like delaying doing the hair because that is what I have like the most like obvious idea of what I want it to look like, and I want it to go well because it kind of makes me, I don't usually do this kind of like really big hair. It kind of scares me. Do I want to do braids? Those also, we don't know what kind of braids the Norse would have had, but I want people to also be able to like look at her and recognize her as a Norse woman. So maybe like having braids to the side of her head. I'm not the best at drawing like super detailed hair. Well, now that I have the braids here, maybe I could like all of her hair get kind of pulled back like this. I want her to have like really big, fluffy, like curly hair. And I feel like I'm trying to do like too much. Maybe I could just like let her have her hair down and have like no designs. I give her like red eyes to show that she's a vampire. Let's try a side profile. I kind of want her to have like a nose that kind of like hooks down a little bit. Maybe that would be cute. These do not look like the same character, but that's okay. I'm still not quite happy with this. This just is not the vibe I'm going for. This isn't quite big enough in terms of like hair. I need the hair to be like really messy. I think I prefer this. So I'm gonna turn to the next page. I'm gonna spend some time designing some outfit ideas. Okay, this is not a great pose, but you know what? I just need some kind of like face front pose. So this is good enough. You know, that's my motto here, is good enough. So in some of the pictures I have here, they're wearing a belt here. The undershirt is a little bit baggy. This is not a clear drawing, so let me go over it in a darker color and maybe something cool will come out of it. Maybe I'd make this like a rose mauling type design. This person also has a lot of like necklaces and jewelry on. Maybe they'd have like a Mjolnir on them. Well, maybe not a Mjolnir, because Thor is like the protector of mankind and he fights like giants and Jotun. And if she's a vampire, she's probably closer to a Jotun at this point than she is like a normal human. So I think she should not wear a sign of Thor, if only for like her own fear of what he might do to her. Since I don't have a lot of time in this video, I'm just going to design some other outfits off of here, and then we can use the rest of this space to thumbnail after I get some of those outfits designed. So I will be back with y'all sometime soon. It is another day. You can tell by the fact that my nails are all cut short, but I did get the concept sketches for this new character, Solveig, done. Here we are with some ideas for different outfits. But this first outfit is kind of like a Viking age casual outfit. Let me remove the hair so you can get a clearer sense of what the outfit looks like. I tried to look for more like historically accurate outfits. I did take some creative liberties. The next outfit is her in a bunad. This would be like what she'd look like in the modern day. Obviously this wouldn't be like her daily wear because this is like their festive folk costume that they wear for like their Independence / Constitution Day and for like special occasions. This is a clear view of what it looks like. Also not entirely accurate. This was designed after the Vest Adger bunad, and I know there's like rose mauling style embroidery here, and this is supposed to like kind of look like it has embroidery on it. But this is what I have. It's very simplified, which is why it doesn't really have all the trademarks of a Vest Adger bunad. And then this last one is her outfit she's wearing when she does Sather work. Let me also remove the hair to get a better idea. But I have that. I decided I wanted to make these like clasps here to be kind of reminiscent of Yggdrasil, the world tree. This rune is Anzu, which represents kind of like communication with the gods. It's often used as the rune of the god Odin. So I thought this was a good rune to include for Sather work. Over here, where I was playing around with like possible makeup for her, I also have the rune on her forehead. Like I said, I don't want to have this like line here. I know it kind of makes her look more like a pop culture version of a Viking, like more recognizable as a Viking. She's not really a Viking though. She's not doing that job, and Viking is more of a job than an ethnicity. And this is also, again, like I said, kind of cultural appropriation, because many indigenous cultures such as Maori, this line means something. So I'm not gonna have that there. I also sketched out some ideas for her for like things she could do. I love the idea of her doing fiber art, and the Sather staff, its primary purpose is believed to be to hold wool for drop spindles so they can make yarn. And so I have her with that here. Here is her also without the staff. I also have a drawing of Lucette here, which was also something that existed during the Viking Age. I also wanted to play around with the idea of her doing knoll binding, which is one of the oldest fiber arts. It's older than knitting, it's older than crocheting by a couple centuries, and we have evidence of it during the Viking Age. And it is very similar to knitting and crocheting, like the style of things you can make and how you make it. But when you cut something made with knoll binding in half, it doesn't unravel because it's made with a bunch of knots. And I decided that I want to keep the fiber arts that she did kind of historically accurate in terms of like these types of like fiber arts existed during the Viking Age. I feel like are ones I'd like to have her do. Maybe as time goes on and we get closer to the modern day, she'd learn how to knit, especially because Norway has a very strong knitting culture. I love crafts and I want to put that here with her as well. So let me make a couple of thumbnails and then I'll be right back with you. Sorry that I couldn't show you the thumbnailing process. This video is already getting really long as it is though, and I had classes I had to go to, so I just did this. I knew I wanted her to be a little bit floaty in sort of her posing. I didn't want it to just be like a static standing there pose. I really like the idea of having like a string, like a red string surrounding her, partially to signify how important fiber arts are to the magic of Sather, but also sort of tie into the red strings of fate thing that I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna get to the actual sketchbook and start sketching out what I want on the first page. Hopefully this goes well. I have been doing some thinking as to some ideas for her backstory, And so something I was thinking of to sort of connect it to Norse mythology is in the Voluspa, it is mentioned that Golvig was burned 3 times and brought back to life each time, and she eventually came back as Heath or Heather, which is related to the word heathen, and she becomes sort of like a goddess of magic. She may have even been the first Seither practitioner. Some believe that she is another name for Freya, who actually taught Odin Seither. Others believe that she is Angerboda. There are a couple different theories, but either way, her sort of like death and rebirth continuously seems to represent a sort of like magical transformation from just like a normal person to a practitioner of magic. And so, as a practitioner of magic, that was sort of probably like her initiation ritual to going from a normal person to a Seither worker. In which case, all other Seither workers might have had to go through like a similar thing. On a less like mythological, mystical level, like I doubt they actually like died 3 times and came back to life with another name. But there might have been like a representation of like a death of their old self and the birth of their new self. In which case, for Solveig, the way she turned into a vampire may have been like something went wrong during the magical initiation, and because something went wrong, she got sort of like casted into becoming this like being that's half alive, half dead, possibly related to, for a reason related to the goddess Hel. She was sort of like cursed by this. In which case, it could also be a thing where she was betrayed by the fires of transformation, which is something she felt an inherent connection to, due to like an inherent connection she had to the sun, hence her name. And since her name is Solveig, that could also be related to Golvig's name. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I kind of enjoy the idea of that for her. These hands are gigantic. I should probably like bring the hand closer to her. I cannot tell if these proportions are more normal. I feel like this is one gigantic forearm. I do like how flowy this pose is, and the dress will probably be the hardest part. I never actually took the time to figure out how the clothes would fit around this. I think this makes sense for a skirt. Kind of can't really tell because of all the lines in here. Let me erase some of these lines. I'm not really the best at drawing like drapey fabric. That is one of my challenges I have doing this. Okay, I feel like this makes sense. Oh, I never did the face. I guess that face will have to be good enough for now. I think I do want to do color first and then line art second. Okay, marker time before I go insane figuring out the details of this. These are the Ohulu Honolulu Bee alcohol markers. These are their pastel set. I don't have their normal set of them. Let's bring this so you can see more. And I never actually picked out which specific colors I want for her. That may kick me in the butt later. I think I want her hair to be this cantaloupe color. So I guess we'll start here. The good things about these markers is you can put the cap on the end. I love a good marker that can do that. I'm not gonna bother lightening up the sketch. This is kind of like a highlighter orange, maybe a little too orange. I might tone it down or make it a bit more red whenever I go in with color pencils. The downside about this pack is it doesn't really have a red. It has a bunch of like pinks and oranges, but there's no real red in it, and that kind of frustrates me. I think probably one of the main reasons that Solveig wanted to become a magic worker was probably so that she could live a more solitary life, so that she wouldn't have like a required job of marrying someone and having babies or something, especially considering that she is sapphic, so she'd rather be with a woman than with a man. But she clearly doesn't want to be with a man at all. And while there were no like official laws saying like you can't be homosexual, it was looked down upon in the Viking Age, although it was more looked down upon if you were a man than if you were a woman, especially if you were the man on the receiving end. One of the Old Norse slurs that is kind of like used for multiple things, meaning both like the T slur used against trans people as well as like the S slur or whatever, literally translates to unmanly. So being viewed as like less of a man was a much more heinous crime. So if you were like the man on top, nothing really happened to your reputation for the most part, but the man on the bottom, it was not good for you because that took away from like your manpower. Versus if you were a woman, they kind of cared less as long as you did your womanly duty of having a child. I don't think she'd want to participate in that, in having a child. And so she probably chose to go like the magic route so she could be a loner, and so she could be a loner without that looming over her. Maybe I'll use R15, bring it a bit more to the red side of things. I know this is a pink, but maybe that would do something. Do you see much of a visual difference? I don't. Let's see. What color do I want her outfit to be then? I think I'll go with like a gray, because I kind of envisioned her outfit being like a black or like a bluish color. I think I'll go for a cool gray, and I might layer blue on top of it. There we go. This set also does not come with a black, which is a little bit unfortunate. Even though I know this is kind of like a core part of most vampire mythos, I don't think that vampirism in here would work in a way of like you can transfer, like bite someone and they turn into a vampire. Mostly for this sheer virtue of I think that by doing that it would add to like the tragedy of her story if she can't bite someone to turn them into a vampire, in which case she would never have thought to turn her lover into a vampire, like would never have been able to do that so that she could be with her lover for eternity. Although if she could turn her lover into a vampire, I think she might be the sort of person who would refuse to as well, because if she did turn her lover into a vampire, maybe she'd view it as like making her lover lose their innocence, and she wants her lover to cling into the last vessel of humanity, especially because she would have never chosen the vampire life for herself. I'm also not entirely sure why the like transformation process or like the initiation process to become a Seith Clona would not work on her, because nothing about her would really make her that different from anyone else, really. I feel like something about her has to be special or different for that to be the case. Maybe she was like chosen by the goddess Hel, or maybe she was chosen by a different entity, like maybe like Angerboda, the giantess of the Ironwood and the mother of Hel, might have. It could also have something to do with like her flaming hair. Loki is oftentimes described as having red hair, so maybe she could have had like some unknown connection to Loki, who was the father of Hel as well. There's a lot of endless possibilities here. I do think I want this to like remain white. Maybe I can go for like a really light gray, like this cloud gray. Or I could shade it with Avalon gray, I think is how you say it. And it looks like the light is coming down like this way. And then I could lift the color with the colorless thunder. It might do more to just like smudge it around rather than lift it. but I do want this to be lighter. For the skin tone, I think I do want her to have really pale skin. Maybe I can add some like purple in here. Ooh, that's really dark. That's much darker than I thought it would be. I made a mistake with that, but hopefully I didn't ruin this piece. But if I like use this to smudge it around, maybe? I think I'll add the red string with like a paint pen. I want this to kind of just lighten up on its own. Okay, I'm gonna bring over my color pencils and then I'll add some details to this. You know, while I was doing the thumbnails, since I had time, although I was in class, so maybe not, I should have just like thought more about what I wanted her story to be. That would have been a good idea. So let's redden up her hair a little bit. I am still not the greatest at doing curly hair, so we will see how this goes. Yeah, no, I'm just drawing random lines and hoping they make sense at this point. Okay, I think that's good enough. I do technically want this dress to be black. Actually, these little like clasp things. I don't want the jewelry to be too flashy, because otherwise it'll overpower everything else. Let's just bring this color elsewhere into the drawing so it makes some sense. I'm gonna go ahead and line art this piece. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do the face. Ooh, I made a mistake there. I did not mean to do that. Seems like this line art does not want to go very well over top of the colored pencil. This line art pen is a lot thinner than maybe suits this style. That is one huge misshapen hand, but let's ignore that. You know, you don't see it. This first page is definitely going exactly how I want. You know, nothing is going against my visions at all. Not at all. I definitely do not feel like I'm struggling here. Why would you ask that? This hand's much better. I like this one more. The white Posca pen to maybe make this look just like a little thinner. Let me grab a different paint pen. I found what I was looking for. Okay, and now we just need to let that paint dry for a bit. And these circles of beads. I don't know how Norse she reads to other people, but to me she does read as pretty Norse. And so I count that as a win. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I can draw the red string. This still isn't dry, but whenever it is dry, I'll finish it and then I will be back with y'all for the outro. Welcome to the end of the video. This is my final product for the first page. I think it looks really pretty. Much better than the first pages for some of my other sketchbooks, I can tell you that. I hope to continue to flesh out Solveig's character, and I hope you continue to watch me as I continue to flesh her out and make new characters and make more content. So please just like and subscribe if you want to see more things like this, and just thanks for watching.